And yeah, we'll just dive into this and kind of just start with a little bit of what you're going to learn and then who the heck we are in case you have never heard of us before. So, we're going to talk today about just breaking down SEO in like a completely no jargon way, understanding how search engines work, which sounds really techy, but I promise it's not going to be. I'm going to talk about spiders and creepy things, and it's going to be fun. Talk about what Google expects from you, so what you can do on your website, and then I'm actually going to give you homework, which is going to be really simple, I promise, but it's something where you can actually take action and see some momentum today. So I'm excited to walk through that, but I can just kind of start with a little bit of who we are. So I'm Abby. I'm going to be the one
And I'm
that's walking
Courtney.
through most of the stuff, and then yeah, that wherever she is on
Wherever
your
I am,
screen.
up, down, sideways, yes.
So Courtney is the one that's made everything beautiful here, and we like to say that we make SEO sexy. So it is a lot more fun to look at when it's pretty, and she's the one that makes all that happen. And I'm the nerdy one that loves to look at all of the analytics and everything behind the scenes to see all the growth. We met at an agency, at a marketing agency in downtown Minneapolis, and worked together for 8+ years. Working in shopper marketing. So we did all of the marketing for certain brands at retail. So that was like our bread and butter of what we did. During COVID, it was kind of funny because we worked on Clorox during COVID and we worked on them at Target. So selling Clorox at Target, and everyone's like, wow, you must be so busy. And it's like, no, like they can't keep product on the shelf. They don't need marketing. Like we are not busy right now. And that was kind of around the time, or like a little bit prior to that, when Duo was born. And Court and I were kind of just ideating what else we could do, and kind of just started doing what we do there, but for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and just really having more passion and helping, the non-massive corporations like Clorox grow. So it's been a fun journey, and we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and really niched into the space of SEO and branding. So that's what we do. We're an open book too, so feel free if like you have questions. We'll monitor the chats, or Courtney will, I say, and then I can like definitely answer questions throughout. Otherwise, we will have like time for Q&A at the end. And again, we're an open book, so if you want to know about how large our dogs are because they're massive, or anything about our lives outside of just what we do for SEO, we're all ears and here to answer anything.
Yeah, so you're going to be hearing a lot from Abby today, but if you have questions along the way, just throw them in the chat and I'll either interrupt her and ask as we go, or I'll save it for the Q&A time. So don't be shy.
Cool. Okay, so whenever we ask our community how they feel about SEO, this is kind of what people tend to say. And I have a feeling a lot of you might be saying the same thing. So the rules are always changing. I mean, I hear this with not only the Google algorithm, but anything, right? Facebook, Instagram, any algorithm you're kind of on, it seems like things are changing all the time. We never really feel like we have a clear starting point. Where do I go? How do I start? It seems like such a massive beast that I don't even know where to begin. What I learn won't work for me. So this is something that I think a lot of people have this mindset that it doesn't, I'm never going to understand SEO. Like even if I attempt to make some changes, it's not going to work for me. And then we also, with that, it's a huge thing. Like SEO is just this huge bucket. I mean, marketing in general is this huge bucket. So it's so easy to feel so overwhelmed so quickly. And a lot of times we feel this way, one, because there's some experts out there, not all, there's a lot of really good people out there, but there are some experts out there that want you to feel that way because they want to take your money and do it for you. Usually you can tell in your gut if this is a good decision or not, but that's kind of why we feel this way. Some people want it to feel complicated and really hard. Another reason is because we're trying to be perfect and do everything all at once. So biting off, like deciding that you're going to market on every single channel, or deciding you're going to blog 3 times a week because you just have this fire lit under you, but then you just fall off the next week because, right, that's exhausting. So it's like we try to do everything and we try to do it perfectly without just getting started. And then at the end, we forget what the goal is. We are just doing this to drive traffic, but is all traffic good traffic? No, not really, right? We want to make sure that we're driving the right traffic to our website so that we're getting the right people and the people are actually converting. Who cares if you have thousands upon thousands of traffic hits if no one's converting, right? So this is something I have a really good example of someone we had talked to who was like, yeah, we do luxury kitchen cabinets. And like this is we remodel homes and we create like this luxury kitchen cabinet experience. And our blog writer wrote a post on how to DIY your kitchen cabinets. And she's like, it's our number one performing blog. We're on first page of Google. We get thousands of traffic hits a month. And it's like, that's not your people. Like the DIYers are not people who are going to invest in the luxury kitchen cabinetry. So it's a lot of things where it's like, we want to drive traffic in the right way for the right audience. So the right people find us and we convert. So that's something to also keep in mind as you're thinking about SEO, is more isn't always better. So let's kind of back up a little bit and talk about if SEO even works, because obviously, I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it didn't work. But I think seeing some of these success stories are some of the best parts and the parts that get you most excited about actually jumping into SEO. And I want to take one huge step back too. And just for a second, just like SEO, if you're like, stop saying that word, I don't know what it means. That's I'm just gonna like take a second to explain that. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. So it sounds really fancy. It's not really. It's search engine, which is Google, Bing, Yahoo. I mean, even TikTok has their own search algorithm now. That's a search engine. And SEO is just the process of making sure you show up on a search engine and hopefully high, right? So SEO is just the process of helping you show up on Google. And it's not a one and done thing. It's something you work on over time. And I'll talk about all of that and why that matters and how to get started in the first place. But that's all SEO is. And all we're going to talk about today is non-paid strategies to do that. We're not going to talk about buying keywords, paying money to Google to get your ad on top. We're going to talk about how to do it organically, because 70% of people scroll past those paid ads anyways, because they don't want to be sold to. And sponsored is bigger than ever before at the top of that Google search page. So we want to make sure that we can show up. So I just wanted to clarify that, because sometimes like just understanding how simple SEO is can really take out the craziness and complexity of it. So I'm just going to walk through a couple things for every student, client, anyone that we've like educated with. We always love to like keep in touch with people and just understand how things are going. So I'm going to share a few of like the success stories of what they've seen after the fact, getting their website optimized. So Cart Collective, they have these really adorable little like dessert carts with like popsicles, paleta, ice cream, churros, like so many different dessert cart options. And they were changing their name from Paleta Please, because that was the only, like they used to just do Paleta and now they do everything. So they were changing their name, starting over from scratch. And they wanted to rank in Los Angeles, which is massive location, right? Massive people, a lot of competition. And after just a few months, they were able to go from not ranking at all because Cart Collective didn't exist, to ranking #1 for Ice Cream Cart Los Angeles. And because of that, they had said that their sales this year have tripled, which is insane and awesome, especially when you're starting from scratch. And this was because we did the research to understand what people were searching for and then where to put that on their page. The next one, this is an acupuncture studio. So they really specialize in fertility acupuncture, again, in a very highly populated area. So you can see, again, that dotted line is showing you what their traffic was in the previous 3 months compared to what it is now. So traffic and clicks are the two little lines that are showing there. So she saw a 40% increase in traffic, and she is ranking currently #1 for fertility acupuncture in San Diego. Which obviously, when you start showing up higher on Google, you start to see conversion and you start to see those clicks on your website, which is the whole point of SEO. And one more, just a photographer that we have worked with, South Bend Photography is our South Bend Photographers is where she's located. So she really wanted to rank well for that. She was already on page 1, but she was position 4. And she moved just in a few months from position 4 to position 1, which helped her see a 400% increase in traffic because sometimes people don't even scroll down the first page of Google and you literally have to get there to the top. So just kind of fun to see once you make these changes and these things that we're talking about and these updates to your website, you can see some really cool things that happen, not just in the traffic, but then the conversions. And seeing like sales triple, we have clients that tell us that they no longer have slow months because they have that consistency with search engines, which is awesome. And then obviously a little bit of credibility from your teacher is organic search is by far our number one traffic driver. And we implement everything we teach on ourselves first. Like we are the testers and we make sure that as long as like things are tried and true, and then seeing this with clients time and time again and students as well, we can kind of see that growth. But organic search is our number one by 3 times, if even that, search driver to our website, which has been great for our business. Okay, so with all that said, typically, if we can figure out how to get more traffic to your website, you are ideally going to get more conversions. Your website does have to do some of the work, right? Like if someone lands on your website from Google and it doesn't communicate anything that you said on Google, yeah, there's going to be a disconnect. Like copywriting is still important, design is still important. But if you can get that traffic and you have a beautiful website that like is explaining and converting and doing the things you want to do, it is going to help drive more conversions for you. So how are we going to do this? And that's what we're going to walk through. So it's just first understanding how a search engine works, just breaking this down in this like stupidest, easiest way possible. So search engines do 3 things. They crawl. So every search engine has spiders or bots that are going to crawl your website. So literally think of them like inside your computer, which is really creepy and gross, but they're crawling all the content on your website. The second thing they do is index. So I want you to think of this like the largest filing cabinet you've ever seen. So Google has like this massive warehouse with this massive file cabinet, right? Every word that the spiders are grabbing on your page is getting put into a folder. And that folder is living in Google's big warehouse, right? And then the third thing is ranking. So where are they going to put you in that folder? At the beginning of the folder, in the middle, in the back? Where are you going to be sitting so that when Google pulls out that folder because someone's asking for it or searching for it, are they going to show you first or are they going to show you 30th? So this is essentially how a search engine works. And we need to make sure that we have made it possible for Google to do all of these things in order for our website to show up. Okay, so our goal is to make sure that search engines can crawl our website, that our content is going to get indexed for the right context and audience, right? We don't want to be put in all those folders that we don't care about. You are essentially going to be put in some folders that you don't care about on high, like in the back, and that's okay. But for the folders we do care about, we want to be in the front, and that's what we want to focus on. So we want to make sure that, again, that content is getting indexed for the right context and that you rank high in those folders on that search engine page in order to drive traffic to your website. So the number one problem we see with like 70% of people we work with and almost 100% of people who come to us and say they get no traffic at all is because Google doesn't know you exist. So this is step number 1, is how do we make sure that Google knows our website is actually here? And that's where Google Search Console comes in. So that little tool that I was showing you before with the impressions and the clicks, that's what that tool is. So Google Search Console is not Google Analytics. It's not Google Business Profile. Those are 2 different tools. So Google Search Console is free, doesn't cost any money, and it's going to tell you how your website performs on Google. So this is kind of what the process looks like, and a lot of reasons why people are like, "Ooh, no, run away!" Like that looks super confusing. And I promise it only takes 10 minutes. So you need to connect it to your .com. So wherever you purchased your .com is where you take this piece of code and connect it. Once you've done that, you never have to do it again. So it's done, it's set up, it's going to work for you unless you change your .com. So this is something where you can just Google Search Console, and then you can go in there, connect that, and add it to your domain. Any questions on this?
Abby, Abby,
Yeah.
we did have a question. I did answer it in the chat, but I just want to make sure too coming from you. Somebody asked, does SEO work best when your website is on a particular platform? And I said, no, not really. We're huge advocates for like working with whatever platform you feel most comfortable within. Just making sure that your SEO is optimized for that particular platform. So I told them that you've worked in
Yeah.
Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, Showit, WordPress, etc.
Yeah, that's one of like my favorite things to like if I see that stuff on like social media, I'm always in the comments like this isn't true. Because so many people love to have like some fear mongering around this is the best platform for SEO, WordPress is the best platform for SEO. And I don't think anyone's trying to be like not truthful in that situation. But I do think a lot of people have preferences for what platforms they like to work in. And so they're going to use every lever they can pull for that. I have seen every platform rank. Like where you as a business owner need to live depends on a lot of different things. And SEO is a tiny piece of that, but not the whole thing. You have to feel super confident in where you are living because you as a business owner needs to feel good about being able to make updates. Like if you transition to someone who's going to build you a website that you can't like grow, that you can't edit, that you can't control, like that's so hard because now you're not going to be able to make changes. So a lot of people choose Wix or Squarespace and things like that because it's easy to work in. Yeah, there's not as many like design things that you can do in there, like custom design things like that. But at the end of the day, if you can own and manage it, it's going to work great for you. So some of those examples that I showed you, My Household Managed, Allison, trying to think of some of the other ones. Both of them are on Squarespace. The Cart Collective is on Wix. Like they see great success. So it truly doesn't matter. You can optimize your website anywhere. When it gets really tricky is when you come down to things like page speed. When people have massive websites with so many pages and so many people coming to it. And that's when like maybe it makes sense to have a custom developed WordPress website because you need it to move faster. But overall, I'm a big advocate for making sure that you're in a platform that can grow with you. So I hope that is reassuring. Okay, so number one is making sure we can send those websites to send those spiders to our website. Sorry. So when you have Google Search Console, there's going to be a little URL piece at the top, and you can paste in all of the pages of your website, hit enter, and it will literally tell you if Google knows about that page. So if Google doesn't know about that page, it will say it's not indexed. And then you're like, great, well, index it. So you push a button and it sends the spiders to your page, which again is creepy, but it's like a beacon, right? So that's something that making sure all of the pages that you want Google to know about are getting found is what you use that tool for. So one, we need to make sure Google knows about all of our pages. I have worked with people who have been blogging for years and Google didn't know about any of it. So you're just writing, like all this hard work is being put out into the world and you're not getting any benefit from it, which is like heartbreaking because you're spending all that time. But the good thing is Google wants high quality content. It doesn't necessarily mean fresh. So if this is you and you go in here and you look at your website and you realize like, oh, this is me, Google doesn't know about my stuff. That's okay. You can still get all of that stuff indexed now. And better yet, you could go back and maybe tweak a couple, see if it needs to be updated, and then republish it, send the spiders to it, and get that indexed. Because anything you've created in the past isn't lost. We have a lot of content on our website that was created 3 to 4 years ago that still drives tons of traffic and makes sense for our audience. So let's talk about number two, indexing. So how are we going to make sure that Google can take those words and put them in a folder? And what are those folders? So this is what our audience is searching for. So how do we figure out what people are searching for, what people are typing into Google search engine? This is where the big term keyword research comes in. So if you've heard this before, it's probably something where you're like, I don't know how to do that. I would say before you even do that, step away from the tools and instead just ask your audience. See what they say. Like whether you have an email list, put up an Instagram question box and just say, hey, if you were searching for me on Google, what would you search for? Or use your existing clients or your existing customers or a subset of them and just say, hey, what would you search for if you were looking for something that I offer? So you can likely do this as like a whole, as like for your agency as a whole, or say you just have one piece of it, like I just want to know from the nanny side of it, like I'm just going to ask a few nannies who have found me or a few households that are seeking nannies what they searched for, and use a small subset to kind of get started. So that's number one. And then number two, we do have a document that helps kind of break down keyword research in a little bit easier of a way. So sorry, I think, oh, okay, sorry. My kid is home. I'm like listening right now. My kid is home because he threw up yesterday and I was like hearing a lot of coughing and it's laughing, so it's fine. But I was like, is there something happening? Okay, we're all good. Anyways, so we have this PDF that's going to walk through 4 different ways to find keywords with free tools. So one of my favorite tools is Uber Suggest. You get free searches there. So typically what I recommend you do is one, ask your people and then take the words that your people have given you that you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Because a lot of times we're so stuck in the jargon of what our industry is and what we do that we forget that there's real people on the other side of the computer searching things that you likely aren't thinking of, or they don't have the jargon in your industry that you have. So it's all about just figuring out what the real people are searching for and then plug them into the tools that we have in the sheet. So Courtney is going to put that in the chat so you can grab it. That kind of walks you through what it's a PDF that lays out all of the different keywords and keyword tools. It's like a whole other training, and maybe, one day we can come back with that one. But just starting here, just kind of understanding what your audience is searching for is a really good thing to start with. So once you figure out that word, it's all about understanding where to put it. So this is kind of the list of all of the different places you can put this word. So I am going to prioritize for you because I think, again, it can feel really overwhelming to be like, great, now I have to like shove this keyword in all these places. And it shouldn't feel like that. It shouldn't feel like spammy or gross. It should feel natural to use the things people are searching for on your website. But a lot of times what we find is that you'll find out that, okay, this is what my audience is searching for. And actually, I went to check on a keyword tool and I realized a lot of people are searching for it. Like there's a volume of like 720 people every month that are searching for this thing. I don't have that word on my website. So how's the spider supposed to grab that word and put me in that folder? Because I don't even have it on my website. So Google doesn't know that. So that's the second piece of it, is Google's not going to know what folders to put you in if you don't actually have that data on your website. So understanding the 2 most important things I would say are your headlines. So making sure you have it in like the top headline on your page. So somewhere weaved in there, and making sure you have that. The second one is your metadata. So every platform is going to have this section. It's usually in like an SEO settings section. So every page you can edit what that blue clickable link is on Google, which is called your SEO title, and then the black description font underneath it, which is called your meta description. So every platform is going to have this where you can edit it. And if you don't know where it is, just do a quick Google search like SEO title on Squarespace, and it will show you. And you can modify this for every page of your website, because every page of your website has potential to be found by someone. A lot of times we prioritize our homepage without realizing that like individual service pages and location pages and all of these individual pages can be found on their own. So when I talked at the beginning about how my household manage adding Palm Beach, we needed a page for that. Like we needed to be able to communicate that. And when I talked about how it went from 70 to almost 300 clicks, I was just talking about that one page. That wasn't even talking about the ecosystem of all the rest of the pages. So every page, understanding that it has their own like SEO power, so to speak. So those would be my two priorities, headlines and SEO titles. And then the other one that people often don't think about, kind of like the third bonus one, is slugs. So this is what comes after your .com. So what comes after your .com, you do /services. Is there an opportunity to add an extra keyword there? Like what additional keyword could you put in that URL slug without making it look and feel spammy? So I would refrain, like for example, for our website, we have marketing services. It's very simple. It doesn't feel spammy, but it's one extra keyword than services, right? But I'm not going to go into our about page and be like, about marketing female founders agency, like in a bunch of different things. And I'm not going to go into like contact marketing agency. I'm just going to do contact. I'm just going to do about. There's certain pages on your website that aren't going to be like a huge priority from an SEO perspective. And it's okay to use those more simpler because you don't want your audience to be turned off either, if that makes sense. Okay, so we talked about the two things. So we have crawling in Google, so making sure the spiders can come to your website, which is what you're going to use Google Search Console for. Then we're going to make sure that you're actually put in the right folders by using the right words on your website in those right places. So taking those words, putting them in your headlines, putting them in your SEO titles. And then the last one is ranking. So let's talk about that. Does word order matter in the URL? No, it shouldn't matter. Word order honestly doesn't matter much anywhere. I would say unless you're getting like super specific, but you can flip things around. Google is really smart. Like Google's smarter than we give them credit for. So we can usually make a lot of like shifts and changes with Google still understanding the context. So next time you Google something, you've probably never noticed this because you're not like analyzing Google like I am. But if you Google something, you'll notice that all the results, you'll see in each section that it's bolding the words that you typed in. And you'll see like in those bolded words that they're rarely ever in order. Like they're usually spread out throughout the content. So that's always like interesting and proof that you don't need to have the words in a certain order for it to actually understand what you're searching for, which is good. Makes our life easier. Okay, so let's talk about ranking. How do we get to the front of the folder? This comes down to how much Google trusts you. So how much authority do you have? Luckily, there is a tool that we can use to check this. So it's called Moz Domain Checker. You can just Google it and go to this tool, and that tool will tell you what your authority score is. Now, before you do that, this score is 0 to 100. It takes the longest to grow, and even like Facebook is like 98. Like we're not talking about trying to get to 100. Like that's crazy. So let's just think about what our number is and that every year we want it to grow or we want it to be moving in the right direction. If you grow 1 to 2 points a year, honestly, that's really good. If you're sitting in the double digits, that's great. Like this takes time. So we're going to talk about like how to grow your authority, but essentially if Google doesn't know about you, so if we're back at the beginning and you installed Google Search Console and you realized I have no traffic because Google doesn't know about you, well, that's Google meeting you for the first time. There's very rarely people out in the world that you meet for the first time that you have so much trust in that you're going to tell all your friends about, right? So it's the same thing with Google. If Google's meeting you for the first time, you have to like prove that you have content on your website that's high quality, that's valuable. So it's going to take time to build Google's trust. So how are we going to grow this trust or this authority with Google? So this comes back to how we measure SEO success. So this is what we do for every client, student, everyone we work with. We always measure SEO success in these three metrics: keywords, how much traffic you get just from search engines, and then backlinks, which I'll talk about in a sec. So you can grow your authority with Google by creating really high quality content. So growing your keywords is essentially like your blog. So creating high quality content that Google and your audience really love. And this is a lot of times people don't understand the power of a blog, or there's a lot of things out there where it's like blogging is dead. Like everyone just uses short form video, which I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about that. It's not true, but blogs can be super powerful because there's a lot of people out there who are information hunting. They're not ready to book you. They're not ready to work with you yet, but they are just out there searching for information to see if someone out there can solve their problems. And this likely doesn't make sense on the core pages of your website. So, what types of content can you create for your blog to drive those people in and help them know about you before they're ready to book you? So that's where you can really grow your keywords, because you'll get to a point where you can't add more words to your website without it looking like this insanely long publication, right? So the only way to continue to grow words and increase and get into more folders is going to be by adding more content to your website, which is usually through a blog. So number 2 is traffic. So getting more traffic from search engines will likely go hand in hand with growing keywords. Typically, the more content you're writing, the more things you're creating, the more folders you're going in, then the more traffic you're going to get to your website too. So this is all organic search traffic solely. So basically you want to be creating content people actually care about, right? And then the last one is backlinks. So this is how many links of your website live on someone else's website. So think about this of like, say you're talking to a friend and they're telling you about how awesome this hair salon is, and like you need to go there, it's really great. And then another one of your friend also told you that, and then now your mom told you that too, and you're like, well, I got to go to this person, like they really know what they're talking about. So you're going to hold that with higher credibility, right? So that's what Google thinks too. So when they see your link to your website on all these other people's websites that are high quality websites and people that Google already trusts, then Google is going to give you more authority and credibility because of it. But on the reverse side, there's a lot of companies out there and a lot of people out there that like to buy backlinks, just like buying followers for Instagram. So say on the reverse side of things, your neighbor who always has crazy hair and you like think is a little crazy comes up to you and says that you have to go to this salon. And then all of a sudden, someone else who also has really crappy hair comes up to you and says you have to go to the salon. Like all of a sudden, you're going to be like, I'm definitely not going to that salon. Like you're not going to want to go there because you're getting like low quality sources telling you to go there, right? So it's the same thing with Google. It's not about any backlink. It's about the right backlinks, the high quality backlinks that Google also trusts. So that's going to be really important too. So this is how we can grow that authority. And you likely might be doing that already without realizing that this is an SEO opportunity. You might be trying to get press articles or awards or appearing on podcasts. Like you might be doing all these things without realizing that they're giving you a backlink on your website. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize is like, it's like a mix of SEO and PR. But this is how you grow your overall authority with Google. And this is the thing that takes time. So it's going to take the longest amount of time. And it's something where even after you set the foundation for your website, that you'll continue to create content, you'll continue to drive traffic, and you'll continue to get those backlinks with new partnerships, collaborations, other things that you're doing out in the industry. So this is essentially the process of SEO, making sure that Google knows about you and can actually crawl your website, making sure that Google's crawling and grabbing the right things and putting them in the right folders, and then making sure you show up in front of the folder. And this is how you're going to do that. So let's break it down to a couple like really simple things you can do today. So one, you can set up Google Search Console. If you do not have this set up, I promise it takes 10 minutes. It is like the number one thing you should do today. If you don't do anything else and forget everything I said, please do this one thing. And this is going, basically once you set this up, you can crawl your pages and look at that. No, 15 is not terrible. 15 is good. Double digits, great. Like keep going. Sorry, I'm like also peeking at the chat sometimes when they pop in, so I'm just all over the board. But anyways, 15 domain authority is good. I'd say a lot of times if Google doesn't know about you, you'll see a 0. And that's just, again, not a bad thing. Like I tend to get more excited when I have clients who like I know have really great content and they're at zero. I'm like, you're gonna see so much growth. Like this is gonna be so awesome. So I want you to have that approach too. Like if you look at it and you're like, this is lower than I thought, I want you to think about the awesome potential you're gonna have after you make like a couple simple updates. So one, set up Google Search Console. Two, ask your audience how they would search for you. So just simple, like if you want to keep it really casual, do an email to a couple people. If you want to do it on Instagram or just like text some friends or family members, like do whatever you need to, but just try to keep that really simple. Number three, I want you to take the words that those people have given you and I want you to put them on one page of your website, whatever page makes sense. So update your homepage headline, add it to a service page URL slug, put it somewhere. And most importantly, I would say put it in your SEO title. If you're like, I don't feel like I have enough power to update my website, or like I don't know how to update my website without like messing it up or something like that, then just put it in your SEO title because this is the back end of it, not the front end. So you're not going to mess up anything on your website. It's all going to be like in the settings. So that's an easy one. And then the last one is to crawl your page in Google Search Console. So once you've made that update, we need to send the spiders to it, right? We need to send the spiders there so that they can grab those new words and put you in that folder because you likely weren't in that folder before. So, or maybe you were in the back because Google thought maybe you knew about it, but wasn't sure, but now you for sure know about it. So doing that. So this is what you can do today. Like you can essentially do all of these things today and it would not take you that long. It would take you less than an hour. So that is our goal for you. So this is where we'd start. We like to keep things really simple and not overcomplicate it. I do want to make sure that we can like open this up for Q&A and a lot of time to talk about it. I have like two more things I want to mention to you guys, and then we can have as much time as you guys need for Q&A. So first, I want to talk about AI because I typically get this question all the time. Is people are like, can I use ChatGPT? Can I use Gemini? Can I use Claude? Whatever. Can I use any of these tools to create content for me? So this is something where Google, and I'm going to read this to you because this is in Google's guidelines. And there's people out there whose job is to literally see if Google changes anything in their guidelines. Like, I don't know how they do it, but this is their job. So this today is what it reads. Google wants to reward websites that create better and more useful content that was written for humans. Now, a few months back, right when ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these tools launched, this said by humans, this little word right here. And that changed the entire context of this sentence. It said useful content that was written by humans, meaning you had to write it. Well, after Gemini, after ChatGPT, after everything's launched, they changed that to say for humans, making it very clear that it isn't bad. It's not bad to use these tools to create content and to help you create content because at the end of the day, like we're super busy. These tools are here to help us be more efficient, but you have to use the mindset of these tools are your intern. So we call ours Chad, and he does very great job most days, but sometimes Chad needs a little bit of help, and he's our intern. So I'm not just going to have him create content, put it out into the world, and I'm never going to look at it or mentor him. I'm going to educate him and mentor him and teach him on how to use our voice and how to change things and write things better. And that's the perspective you should have if you're going to use these tools to help you create content. And if you do that, then you're going to you're going to be creating content that's going to work for Google and help save you time and be more efficient in the long run. So if the idea of blogging and all of that like makes you feel crazy, just know that you can always use these tools to help with guidance, of course. Okay, so one more thing before I let you guys go. If you guys feel like you need a little bit more like hands-on help with everything from an SEO perspective, this like landed in the absolute perfect timing, basically. Right now, we are launching our DIY SEO course. The door is actually open to it today. So this walks you through how to do basically everything I talked about and more. So the whole goal of this was really to break it down and make it feel super easy so you can optimize your website and do what we do for yourself. So we have, I mean, I love doing this for people, but at the same time, I know there's a lot of people out there who one want to learn this, like they want to know how to optimize their website and do it themselves. And they also want a course that's going to grow with them as their business grows too. And two, from a budget standpoint, not everyone has the funding to work with us. And we want to make sure that people can still make progress without having, like, I want to give you all my secrets essentially, regardless of your budget. So, what we've included in here is basically building that foundation. So, if you need more hands on help setting up your Google tools like Search Console Analytics, we have walkthroughs that take you through that whole process, making sure everything's set up, figuring out what your audience is searching for, like going deeper into those keyword research tools to help you actually understand them. Then optimizing your website. So we go through everything. So your SEO titles, meta descriptions, headlines, alt text, like we'll break down each one of those. So each module, each lesson is less than 10 minutes, walking you through how to update it and then give you the homework of what to do at the end. So it's self-paced. You can do all of that on your own. And then we talk about measuring success. This is the best part. Growth, like actually seeing the traffic and how to see it. And then blogging and backlink strategies. So once you have this foundation, you need to create more content, right? Build authority, credibility. So that's where those long-term strategies come into place. So again, we are queens of removing all of the jargon. I hope that you got that through what we were doing today, just to try to eliminate any of the confusion. Everything, every lesson in here is less than 10 minutes. We get it. We're busy. I've taken courses before and looked at them before where I see a lesson that's an hour and I'm like, no, like I don't have time for that. So this was super important to us to make sure that it can fit into your life. We also give you lifetime access. So if Google changes, we're going to update the course. You're going to get access to it. So you know it can grow with your business, which is super important. And also, I want you guys to feel super confident that you can make these changes and see that growth because that's like the power in all of it. We have a whole slew of bonuses too that you guys are getting for free, which I'll talk about in a second. But we have, so Chad, our buddy Chad, and AI, and like how to use him and chat prompts for Chad and whatever your intern is. If there's a Chad that's in your group, I really want to know, but you'll have to follow up and let me know later because that would be really funny. But anyways, just breaking down artificial intelligence, how to use ChatGPT, Gemini, when to use them, local SEO, how to show up higher in Google Maps. So that's a whole other kind of platform that can be optimized. Product business, I'm not sure if you self-cert like courses or anything like that, that can be relevant too. But there's some specific product business strategies. Podcast SEO, if you have a podcast, this is going to help you optimize specifically for podcast search engines, which is a little bit different. And then branding, which is crazily enough also tied with SEO and very important. So we walk through that too. We have live Q&As every time we launch this, which I invite everyone to as well. And then there's ongoing access with our community and Facebook. So I'm always just like we are here. So that's everything. So I'm happy to let me know. I'm sure I missed things. I feel like I was like briefly looking as I was talking, but let me know if I missed some questions in there. Otherwise, we can open it up to anything else.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any questions in there, but if you guys want to type any in the chat or if you just want to go off of mute and ask, that time is right now. So feel free to ask away.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Jackie from A Mother's Prayer. And you talked about content, right? And how if you have a bunch of content on your page, it could look like a book that you're reading, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the marketing person I've been using, she did tell me that I need at least 500 words on every page.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is there, oh, see, that's a lot. It's like reading a book. So
Right. It's confusing. I know.
yeah, well, what's your
I
take
know.
on that
Okay.
though?
So, but that's honestly good. Yeah, that's good sound like advice. I typically say 300, but I think 500 is good too. Now, how you want to structure it is with headlines. So people love to skim. Like the second I look at a big paragraph, right, I'm like, I don't really want to read that. Like we just love to skim and move on with our day and get the cliff notes. And now people are just like, hey, ChatGPT, give me the cliff notes, and they don't even read it. So there's like making sure that things are skim worthy is super important. So that's where you just want to break it down into chunks and use headlines to structure that. So headlines, if you've seen this in your website, so you'll see this in you were on Squarespace, right?
Yep.
So if you see this in Squarespace, you'll see like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, right? And if you click on them, heading 1's really big, heading 2 is a little bit smaller, heading 3 maybe is a script font or something.
Yeah.
So they're different designs. So on the back end of that is actually like a hierarchy for Google. So heading 1 is like the most important to Google. Heading 2 is the second, heading 3 is the third. So when you create a piece of content, by adding in these headlines, you're helping Google to pull things out. So if you've ever seen in Google like featured sections up top, or like the people also ask section. So if you ask a question, there'll be a bunch of other questions of what other people asked, and you'll click on them and it'll populate. So basically, the reason why Google can pull out those sections is because they have a headline and it's like structured content in someone else's blog.
So that's in the back end, that's that H1,
Mhm.
H2, H3.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually I recommend H1, you should have one of those per page. So like your title of your blog will be your H1, and then everything under that will be like H2 or H3 sub under that. So kind of think of it like a book report. It's like the book is the title, H1, the chapters are H2, sub chapters are H3, and so on. So that's kind of how you can structure your content. And if you do it that way, it'll make it so much easier to like add content. I also love to use, like, if you're struggling with hitting the word count, Google what you're typing about and use the people also ask sections as pieces of your blog. So you can
Oh,
like
okay.
answer that in your own way. Like, obviously, I'm never copy, but those are things where you're like, oh, I can answer this way better. Like, I'm going to have my own approach to it. So that can be a really good thing to be like, Google's literally telling you that people are searching for those questions. So
Wow,
they're likely
nice.
folders they're pulling out, right?
Thank you for that. And thank you for this
Yeah,
amazing information, because
of
it's just putting
course.
things together for me. So thanks.
Good. That's my goal. Make it easy. That is the goal every day. Um, okay. And yeah, do we do website analyses? Yes, we do. We do website audits. Um, we our audits are like very literally the course is our audit, but it's like we do it for you. So there's a lot of people that are like, I can't take a course because like I just don't have time. I just need someone else to do it. Or sometimes there's a lot of people like, no shame. You're like, I don't want to learn it. Like, that's okay. You can just rely on the experts to help you. So we do the full audit of like keyword research, competitive research, understanding and how they're getting traffic, auditing all the pages on your website, and all of that. So that is definitely something we can do. Could you share your recommendations on how to source high quality images for a blog post? Yeah, so I would say using imagery for your blogs. Um, Images are something that it kind of depends on your industry, whether they're going to be super important for your content or not. So I think they're really good to keep your content engaging, like once people find it, right? And to keep it engaging. They're also, in certain industries, people are searching in the Google Images section because they want to see the content before they click through to get the advice, right? So if that's the case, if you're creating a piece of content that you think people are searching in Google Images, then first what I'd recommend doing is going to Google Images and seeing which ones stand out to you and like understanding like, oh, it's this image that's like really not cluttered, or it's this image because it's got bright colors. Like, what is standing out to you, and then use that as a guide for the kinds of images that you could pull in. Otherwise, I would say if you don't think people are searching for your blog or your content and images, still include it because images are great, like engaging for the reader, keep them wanting to read or share examples or things like that. Um, but it's more important just to make sure that those images are compressed. So they're not super big. If they're really big, they're going to slow down your page, and Google doesn't like that. And then also that you have your alt text written, which is meant for screen readers first and then Google second. So it should be, I always like to say for that, it's like in the context of what is that image doing in the context of your website. So making sure you're describing it that way versus getting so specific of like, man in a red jacket with a fresh manicure. Like, I don't know. Like, you don't need to communicate it that. You can instead just be like, man emphasizing these services for my business or something, because it gives you the context of what that image is doing on your website. So if you envision a screen reader, like someone using a screen reader and getting an image that's so detailed that they're like, what? Like, that's not going to mean anything to them either, right? So it also has to make sense from that. I'm based in Dallas, considering expanding to new locations in Texas. What's a good first step so I don't undo all of my efforts? Good question. Okay, so I would say first steps are to make sure that you get Google Business profiles set up for each of your new locations. So that would be like making sure that if you have an address in all of those locations, getting that secured. That would be step number one, because local, like Google Business profiles are built for local. So if you have a profile and you've selected the whole world or the whole country, it's not going to do much for you. Like, they're really truly meant to be local. So even if you can serve everyone anywhere, make sure your map and your location is local, because that's what it's for. So that's what I would do first, because that's super important. And then second is I would create location pages. So I would not have like a one page for all of your locations. I would create individual pages for each location so that you can optimize those location pages for the keyword plus the location that you are going after. Those would be like the two most important things I do right away.
Can I ask a quick question to piggyback on what you just said?
Mhm.
So referring to Google business profiles in different areas, I was told that Google has changed the rules about that and that you have to have a brick and mortar. It can't be because we're not going to
Yeah.
sit everywhere we do business, but it can't be
Mhm.
like a shared space. Is that true?
So it can't be so it can't be a PO box. You can't like verify things with a PO box. It has to be like a physical address. Some co-working spaces and things like that do allow you to have like your own physical, like use their address as your address. So in those situations, it's good. But if they just give you a PO box, you will get denied. You can also like choose your home address and hide it. So like if you look up Duo Collective, behind the scenes is my home. And Court and I both work out of our own home, so it's not like we're gonna choose one of those and share it with the world. But at the end of the day, we love working with local clients, and that's also something that, like for Google, we've had people in different situations say like, I just need to reach out to Google and talk to them and make sure they verify it. And so really, when you do get to that situation where Google's like, declined, like you're not a local business or whatever, you just have to go back to them and say, yes, I am. I meet my clients at coffee shops, or, I meet them in local areas. But you need to focus on the aspect that you work locally with people rather than being like, I serve everyone, but sometimes I serve local. Like, it's like, just emphasize local, because that's what it is. I mean, the tool, like, they wouldn't let you hide your address if they didn't want you to, like, or if they didn't want to give you that option. So until they take away that feature, I'm of this like mind that it's okay to like be a service provider that works out of your home.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
In reference, I have another question.
Yeah, please fire away.
I've
I'm
been
here.
dealing with this. I've been dealing with this lately, so this was perfect. So for instance, on my website, on my service page where it says my website slash service, are you saying with slugs that I would put something else after service, or is that service the slug you were talking about?
Yeah. So if it's like .com/service, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Give Yeah. So I would say like whatever that service is where you can add it. So you can add it before, after, it doesn't matter. You would do that in the same place. So on Squarespace, it's in the settings section. So it's in the same space you'd modify SEO titles and meta descriptions. The only thing you want to be careful is after you've made a change, so you've decided I'm going to add a keyword there, make sure you set up a redirect from the old slug to the new slug, just so that nothing gets broken. If anyone had that link somewhere else, that just
Right.
makes sure that Google knows and your audience will just all get redirected to that new slug.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just put an example of ours. So we have our branding services and our SEO services. So ours is duocollective.com backslash, geez, I can't say that word more. SEO dash. So you can kind of just see that example in the chat there.
Mhm.
I have one quick question.
Please.
With backlinks, does it matter? Like, is it like a better piece of content, a better place for your backlink to live? Like, is that something that kind of goes into that, or just kind of your website? I guess I have two questions then. Or
Mhm.
like you kind of mentioned at the beginning that there was like the cabinet makers and there were luxury cabinets, and the DIY stuff is like what
Mhm.
was getting all the hits. Does it help you though that like that was getting hits? Does that still help you, or does it really just help like that page?
So like maybe it helps Google. But when they first came to talk to me, they were like, I'm not seeing better sales. And so it's like, and you could also be confusing Google, because now Google could think that you have this like authority and credibility with a wide range of people versus putting you in a different category. So it's more important to think about for your website from like overall, all of your content should be high quality. So a lot of times we think about creating new content like all the time. It's just like, what else can I pump out? What else can I create? Without realizing that like the ecosystem of our website is what Google's looking at. So it can be just as valuable to go back to an old piece of content that you think could be written better and rewrite it than to create a whole new piece of content. So it's all about thinking like the overall quality of your website versus always just doing fresh. So for them, I mean, maybe it was helping their authority with Google and it was clearly driving traffic. So like two of the SEO metrics that like are important to look at, right? But then there's that unseen part of like, what's the point? What's the point of doing this? It's to get clients. It's to get like put dollars back into your money, into your revenue, right? So it's like if that's not happening and you're just getting empty traffic, unless you have ads on your website, it's not going to help you. So that's basically like why it's so important to remember like what that end goal is.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Is it important to use images from websites with high domain authority and page authority to ensure image quality, or should you focus primarily on the image relevance and clarity regardless of the source? So I would say if you're sourcing images from other people, if you're like linking back to them, so like say for example, I don't know why this is top of mind and maybe this is like what you're mentioning, but like I've worked with some like photographers and videographers and people in the wedding industry who have like created blog posts on like, here's the best venues in Georgia. And then they pull the images from the venues and link them, like source them. Like legally, you should do that. You should definitely source them or ask, or I would say, and ask them to make sure it's okay that you use their image on your website, right? So you're giving them a backlink when you do that. But it's also like telling Google that you're related. Like, because I'm linking these venues in this wedding industry, like it's helping Google understand that like it's all related in some way, shape, or form. You're related to this website. They're technically getting more of the like juice than you are, but you're still getting that relation in Google's mind. And a lot of times then you can share it back with them and be like, hey, I featured you. Do you want to feature me? So like you can kind of use some of that. So like that's where I would say it matters, like because you're linking them and sourcing them from that standpoint. But Google's not going to know where that image came from if you're not like sourcing them. It might be in the file, like deep buried in the file, but it's not enough to actually be like, I wouldn't focus on that from an SEO strategy perspective. I'd focus on like the content and the SEO titles and things like that, and then having images that work. Does that answer? Let me know if I didn't answer your question on that.
Abby, Courtney, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And I can't wait to send this recording off to everybody just as soon as we can. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you. If anyone, I love a good Instagram voice message. So if you have like a question later and you want to voice it over, please don't hesitate.
Thanks everybody for joining us. And like I just said, I will send this recording out just as soon as we can.
Cool.
Thank you, Danny.
Cool. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.